the question that I have is that tyranny is really, really hitting home, especially as of yesterday. And home, I mean New York, when still current Mayor de Blasio has made it mandatory for every New Yorker ages 5 and up to be vaccinated. There's no choice. It's a mandate. I can't say that vaccines are bad or good, but it definitely should be a choice. And it seems that the freedoms and the choices are being taken away from people. So the question is, has this always our world been the world of tyranny? Or are we just waking up to it now and realizing that it probably was?
So yes, there's a serious issue here. Whether you want to call it tyranny or chutzpah, but it is a terrible chutzpah. I'm sure that government has always been manipulating people, but they used to do it respectfully. It's like they gave us credit for having some intelligence. Now we're being treated like we know nothing and we can be convinced of anything. The chutzpah is really offensive. So I don't know what the dictionary says about tyranny, but they should add the word chutzpah, a disrespect for people. So when people are willing to accept tyranny, you get a question like, what is that phenomenon? Why would you be willing? Why are you not offended? Do you need a comforting, strong hand to protect you from your own wildness and craziness? I don't know. But it is disappointing. Human beings should have a little more dignity than that. Well, first, the good news is these 2 weeks that I've been traveling from coast to coast, I have seen evidence, convincing evidence, that because of this craziness in the last 2 years, people have become much finer people. We talked about this many times, that the COVID is bringing out the goodness, the wisdom, the maturity, and it's true everywhere in the world. And everybody is saying it now. It also produced a certain kind of wealth. People have more money to spend. People are generous. People are financially doing very well. Surprise, surprise.
How would we attribute that to, that people are doing better financially?
I have no idea.
I mean, we have inflation, we have unemployment, and obviously we have lockdowns, and yet you're saying that people are doing better financially.
It is surprising and against all predictions. But going from Chabad house to Chabad house, they've never had such donations. They've never had such generosity. People are throwing money at them. So it has been very, very good, despite all the headlines and the fake news and all that stuff. And it's just going to keep getting better. So we shouldn't, don't give up now. We're doing good. We're doing good. And in 3 or 4 months from now, it's going to get much better. I think we're reaching the tipping point where the craziness has reached an unbearable and intolerable level, and it's gonna be a backlash. So the confusion is going to become even more intense, but it's going to sort itself out. So let's not, we've done well until now. Let's not give up now when we're on the brink of success. But let's go back to Hanukkah for a moment. There were 2 things that happened in Hanukkah. There was the physical battle, a huge army against a handful of guerrilla fighters. And miraculously, the handful were able to physically, militarily defeat the great armies. And we thank God for that every day of Hanukkah in the prayers. But how do we celebrate Hanukkah? By lighting a menorah. And that has nothing to do with the battle. It has nothing to do with military might or success. It has to do with finding a better oil that miraculously lasted 8 days. So what are these two dimensions here? One is military, physical, the physical survival and well-being of Israel. The other is much more personal and much more intimate in our relationship with God. To put it bluntly, finding that sealed, uncontaminated cruse of oil literally means we discovered that our innocence was still intact. Because part of the assault of the Assyrians, the Hellenists, was a philosophical one. They weren't out to kill Jews. They were not genocidal. They were also not out to prevent religion, to crush religious observance. They offered a philosophy. They said, of course, you should practice your religion. Everyone should practice their religion because it's culturally productive, it's good for society, it keeps people together, it gives you a context in which to live and function. It's all very good. But can you stop with this God business? Do it because it's a rational, sensible, and productive thing to do. Why do you have to mystify it? Why do you have to make it, otherworldly? It's fine. Get rid of the irrational parts. That's called contaminated oil. Oil is what you put in the menorah to light up your life. What's going to light up your life? The Greeks, the Hellenists said, rationale. If you use your intelligence, you behave rationally, you do things that are logical, you got your life under control, everything makes sense. That's the light of your life. But for some reason, the Jews at that time, or at least some of the Jews at that time, would not accept that. Not good enough. So they went looking until they found some oil that had not been contaminated. With this, they lit the menorah, and it lasted for 8 days when it shouldn't even have lasted for 1. The point of it is, in our relationship with God, we can approach it very rationally, which means I can even believe in God for rational reasons. That is not the light that we're looking for. Just like in a marriage, the light of a marriage is not a rational, practical, useful arrangement. There's something much more beautiful and much deeper than that. The rational is impressive, but it's not what makes a relationship. So if you're just thinking about making the most of your life, yeah, practical is good. Rational is good. But if you're talking relationship, the rational is not going to make it happen. In fact, I was counseling this couple, and he kept saying, "But I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense." And the wife finally said, "You want to make sense or you want to be married?" At first, it sounded like a threat. Stop badgering me about making sense, or this marriage is going to be over. But that's not what she meant. She meant, you want to have a rational relationship, like good roommates, or you want to be married? If you want to be married, you need to go a little higher and deeper than rational. And that is the innocence, the innocent, artless, sincere commitment to another person. That's our innocence. What the Hellenists try to do is corrupt that innocence. Don't just be nice for nice sake. Have a reason. That's a loss of innocence. That's a scheme. When you start scheming, the relationship is over. So we're celebrating the military victory, which we mention in the prayers, but we don't actually make a big deal about it, primarily because we have other holidays that celebrate that. Purim celebrates our survival. Passover celebrates our freedom, physical. So our physical well-being is covered by other holidays. What's unique about Hanukkah is not the threat to our existence, but the threat to our innocence. And the miracle of finding that innocence when we thought we had been compromised or damaged, that's the miracle of the human capacity. If you think that the best we can do is be rational, you're cheating yourself out of something very, very valuable, more impressive than our great intelligence, which is great. But we have something even greater. And that is the antidote to narcissism, which is the curse of this generation. Narcissism is anything but innocent. And it all begins, if we have to trace it down, it all begins with the belief that religion has inflicted on us, the belief that God, in his perfection, needs nobody. And we all strive to be like God. So we're all trying to not need anybody, because then we would be perfect. So anybody who believes that not needing anybody makes you perfect, that's a narcissist. It's just me to the exclusion of everybody else. Well, isn't that what God is? So when we're taught that that is what God is, we're actually breeding narcissism. So what is God? He's been accused of narcissism. You create the whole world just because you're in the mood? You create the whole world for your entertainment? You play these games with us, challenging us. Here's free choice. If you mess up, I'm going to punish you. Sounds really nasty. But of course, the truth is, God creates the world because of his vulnerability. Divine vulnerability. And that consists of the feeling or the attitude or just the fact. Me alone, for myself, by myself, not good. That's what motivated God to create the world. So did he create the world to use us? No. He creates the world because without us, he is not complete. How's that for a change? Without us, he is perfect, but that's not good. With us, he's good. So we're not being used, we are needed. If we could just convince a few people to change their attitude towards God and vulnerability and narcissism, it can change everything. It's a very controversial thing to say, but look at the definition of perfect. Yes, God is perfect. Well, if he's perfect, he don't need you. That's what perfect means? Hardly. If I didn't need anybody, would that make me perfect or irrelevant or a monster? You know, the popular song, people who need people are the luckiest people.
Yes.
There's just one condition. You need people, not their service. You don't need a cleaning woman. That's not needing the person. That's just needing the service. If you need people, or if you need a person, you are more than perfect. You're lovable. You're relatable. You're reachable. But if you're invulnerable, you might as well not exist with all the perfection. So God felt, I am absolutely perfect, and I might as well not exist. So if God is not vulnerable, then we're all in big trouble. If God doesn't need us, then we cannot justify our own existence, and that's painful. And also, how do you get around the simple question? God was always perfect, eternally perfect, and then decides to create a world, and he doesn't need anything? Come on. Who creates a who creates a whole universe for no reason? On the contrary, for someone that perfect, that absolute, to create a world, the need to do that must be so intense, so awesome, as infinite as him, as eternal as him, as powerful as him. In fact, it's just him. He needed this universe, and so he created it. Not the universe needed him. You could describe the change that is coming as a little miraculous, hard to imagine. But look at the other side of the equation. Look how unimaginable this insanity is. So if we should regain our sanity, it's a smaller miracle than the miracle of our craziness. So, what's more reliable? That the insanity will continue, or that we will eventually put our foot down and say, okay, enough? Who's going to do it? Stand by for surprises. It'll come from the most unexpected source. And I have a feeling it's going to be one tiny little incident that would usually be ignored, but this is going to tilt. It's that final straw. And the final straw is never impressive. It's just one more straw. So it's not going to be some very impressive mass movement. It's going to be one mistake that they make that's going to be just too much for the people, and it will undo all the craziness. So it was like communism. People were saying, Communism, it's indestructible. No one can stand up to them. No one can challenge it. On the other hand, it was such a big lie, and it was so empty and devoid of any truth and meaning. How does it go on even for another day? So when it collapsed, was that a miracle? Or was it a miracle that it lasted 70 years? So which is more believable? It's more believable that it's going to stop. Because how crazy can crazy be?
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.